Welcome to People Love Process. In my studio, I always have a notepad close by so I can draw on it or capture ideas that come to mind. When I don't, I just draw on anything on hand in the moment. That could be a project notes I printed out, as shown here, where I drew this bird form. I never know when inspiration is going to strike either, but over the years I've learned to never ignore it. Rather, act on it and see where it leads. See what creatively comes about by acting on it. Action is a big part of the creative process, and you never know where it's going to lead. And in this movie, we're going to do just that. So let's get started. Once again, this is a project I'm actually working on right now. It's some branded graphics for a guy's yacht. Yes, he has a yacht, and I'm designing it, his branding for it. So kind of unique. Never did that before, but I drew this bird shape, and it kind of intrigued me. It kind of reminded me of the old Batman logo when I was growing up. But I started experimenting with it and drew it more. Now, I draw with pens, Papermate Flare pens, and I only use black and red. And I have red, so if I'm making notes in a client meeting, it just helps me not to forget it. I'm writing on either an email I printed out or whatever. And so whenever I sketch, I don't always sketch or draw or doodle on my notepads. I just use whatever's at hand, but I continued to experiment with this. So it started up here, drew another one, and then I thought, well, it needs kind of some interior shapes, but I didn't want it to be so mimicking reality. I wanted this to be very free-flowing, kind of a inspiring type of design and very artistic. So I thought maybe I could handle it so it reads like a bird, but it's more artistic in terms of literally being a bird. And that's kind of my thinking here. So I continued to experiment with it. Here's one where I drew it out another way and added the inner detail on it. And then I started drawing lettering. And I first went with like an emoji type happy face. And I go, well, that kind of detracts. So I'll just keep it a word, and worked out the word joy, started working on it. But since it's in pen, I can't erase. So this is where I continued to add more lettering. I thought, well, abundant joy kind of goes good with this. It's like a free-flowing spirit, and it's colorful. That's what I want it to be when I start working it out. So this is how I work out hand lettering as well. I just do the kind of the bones or structure of the letter forms, and later on I'll add volume to them. Continue to thumbnail draw it. Here I get a little more elegant with the type, figuring out how it's going to kind of bounce about with in this case, the bird form. And I'm kind of liking this. And this is where I moved to pencil, and I use it to start working out things in a more precise manner. Still sketching it, still drawing it, working on it pretty small, and not overly thinking it, but just constructing it and composing it. And once I get this done, and this is about the size I drew it at, I'll blow this out, or blow it up, that is, and print it out, because this is what I'm going to now go back to my drawing board and do a refined drawing with a mechanical pencil. And that's exactly what I do here, where I start drawing out those letter forms and making decisions on thick and thins. You can see that in the A. I thought it fit better to have it thicker here, working out all the different letter forms, figuring out the shapes and how they relate to one another within that form, and working out the typography down below. But I do this all in my refined drawing, so when it's all said and done, I have my refined sketch. I can select it, go to transparency. In this case, we'll just punch in 20% and we'll lock the layer. So where do I start building on a design like this? Well, for me, I was thinking it needs to start with the bird itself. So that's where we're going to start. So we'll go ahead and go to our graphic styles, and I'll click this one. If we go to stroke, I believe it's 0.75. That might work. And wherever it comes to a point, gets a point. And this is where I'll zoom in like this, because we're going to build the perimeter of this bird shape. So wherever it comes to a point gets a point. That's where I'm going to start. And then as it comes up here, if you think like a clock, this is the 12 o'clock position right about here. I'll just pull it out. And I don't have to pull those handles out too far. Just pull it out enough to get access to them. And then as it's dipping down into this area like a valley, I know there's going to we're going to need another Bezier curve here, so I'll put it right here since I know that line's going to intersect with it. And then as we get up here to the head, this is the tip of what I guess would be the beak, even though we really don't even have eyes on this. So very stylized. We'll go here and we'll place another one here to get that part. And then as it comes up here, probably right where this shape comes into the top, we'll put one here like this. Go ahead and pull that out. Wherever it comes to a point gets a point. These are easy to discern. And then as it wraps around here, this is a pretty subtle curve, but we're going to need one before we turn to get down to the bottom of the tail. And I think putting it right here makes sense. So it doesn't always have to be on what's called a tangent, I found. I think that works great for more geometric shapes, but free form shapes, it should just go wherever you think is going to make the best shape. And so I think it's going to work better there. We'll go down here where it comes to a point, gets a point, and we'll kind of match what we did over here, wherever this curve, the apex of it kind of touches. We'll put it right about there, pull it out. And again, this is a shallow curve, so we'll go all the way to the point. So this is the rough build. This is where you can go back with your anchor point tool if you don't have a plugin. Anchor point tool, you can grab a path like at the base here and you can just pull it out. That gives you access to the handles. Then you can finesse those for his tail like this. But when you go into a curve that goes from a corner anchor point to a smooth, all a smooth means is it has handles on each side and it just controls the flow of that stroke through that anchor. This is smooth, this is a corner. There's only two types of anchors in Illustrator, corners and smooths. And at times you can break these. So if I grab the anchor point tool and I decide I want to grab this path and bend it out here like this, you can get access to this, then you can pull it like this, and I go back to this one. At times it might break a smooth. In this case, it didn't, so that's good. So we're just going to go ahead and adjust this. I'll pull this up, and we're going to pull this over more, kind of like that. We'll go over here. So you can use the anchor point tool again to grab a path, pull it out until you get access to the anchor, and then I suggest using that from that point rather than grabbing a path and trying to pull it out, because notice how it messes this up. That's why I tend to not use this feature, but if I do, I just barely reveal the anchor or the Bezier curve handle, and then I grab the handle. That way it won't mess up a corresponding anchor point that it won't mess it up. That's the whole reason why I do it that way. So if you don't have plugins, just kind of have a deft touch when you use it, because you can cause problems and break something. So let's go down here and we're going to grab this path, and let's say we pull this out and I go over here and I decide to pull this. Notice this handle breaks like that. If that ever happens in Illustrator, well, how do I get that to a smooth so when I control this, it controls the other side? We'll just direct select that handle, go up to your control bar. And again, if you don't have control turned on, just click on this and this bar will show up at the top. And you'll want to click this, which is turn anchor to smooth. Click on it and it'll fix that. And now it will behave like a smooth anchor point. At times you will break it. It won't happen all the time, but when it does, that's how you fix it. So this is where I'll just finesse my Bezier curves to get the exact curve I want. Now I also use a plugin by Astute Graphics, because all I have to do is select the Path Scribe tool, part of Vector Scribe plugin, and notice this node, this white node shows up. What is that? That's a ghost handle. That says if I grab that, it'll immediately reveal the Bezier curve handle, and it doesn't correspond or mess up a corresponding anchor point. That's why I love it. That's why I love Astute Graphics. They're super intuitive. Everything just works. They figure out how best to implement it so it doesn't get in the way of the creative process or cause other issues. That's the whole reason why I use them. You know, I don't get paid to promote them, by the way, even though I mention them all the time. I'm friends with them. I know them. They know me. But anything that makes my life easier and allows me to build more precisely, guess what? I'm going to talk about it just like anybody else would. So I highly encourage you to check out Astute Graphics. You will not regret it. Once you start using them, you're going to figure out all these other things you can do with them. And I don't even use all their plugins. Whenever I have a need, I'll use another plugin they make is called Vector First Aid, which is pretty incredible. And definitely check that out, because if you've ever had to bring type in from somewhere and you copy it into Illustrator and then all the words are kind of broken apart for whatever reason, some files like CAD files will do that, for example. That specific plugin will like weld them all back into one paragraph again. It's pretty amazing. So that's how I would build the base there. Like that. Not too hard, and you just want to take your time. So once again, you don't even need a plugin. Just use the pin tool, use the anchor point tool to grab a path and bend it and shape it so you can get access to those Bezier curve handles and then finesse it. But if you have a roadmap to build in, a precise drawing like I have, it makes the whole process a whole lot easier. Now, this is everything done on the bird in terms of the core shapes. We have the outer shape of the bird we just built, but all these interior shapes, these are just segmented pieces that I built to match my underlying drawing, because ultimately we're going to increase the size of these strokes and expand them to get access to the artwork. So let's go ahead. I want to show you how I go ahead and build letterforms, because a lot of times people can get intimidated by doing hand lettering, but I want to encourage you to give it a shot because it's so much fun to do it. In terms of this bee, we're going to build this bee, so make sure we're on the right layer. And we have the pin tool. Wherever it comes to a point, gets a point. Same principle. So these are two corner anchors. We'll go over here. I'm going to place it right about there, and we'll place this one right about there, and then I'll close the shape. Now we can go back to the anchor point tool. Once again, pull this path. That gives us access to the anchors. And I might go to strokes right now. We're at 0.5. Since we're zoomed in, I go to 0.5 instead of 0.75 so we can see the underlying drawing. Once again, with the anchor point tool, just grab a path, pull it, and then you can finesse it with the Bezier curve handles that appear like that. So that gives us our downward stroke of the letter B. We're going to go here. We're going to build the I don't know what you call them, the bumps of the B. We'll go here. We have smart guides turned on so we can snap to that anchor. And then, you know what? I'm not even going to put an anchor. Some might think, well, you should put an anchor there. You know what? We don't need to. We're going to go all the way over here, and I'll just go ahead and put it right about there. We'll put one there, and we'll put one right about there, and we'll close it. And you're going, what? How's that? Actually, we don't even need this one. Let's get rid of that like that. Well, why'd you do it that way? Well, because I can come back, grab the anchor point tool, grab this path, and if I just pull it out, get access to these handles are going to do all the Bezier curve work for us. So we'll pull this one out like that. I'll pull this one out like this so you can see we're getting that full curve of the B. We don't even need an anchor point out here. Then I'll grab the inner part And we'll just do the same here. Pull these out like that. So it's pretty easy. I think we need to adjust this one on top. Kind of like that. Maybe pull that like that. That looks good. Let's go ahead and create the other one. Start there, come to there, do that one, and we'll close. Grab the anchor point tool, pull it out until we get access to the handles. Then we can finesse the curve of the bottom part of the B. Just using those, grab this path, pull it out, grab the handles like that. So that's the easiest way to do it. And then once you have these shapes, notice I built it in 3 shapes, way easier than trying to create one outer shape and do the inner shape, because we wanted this downward bar to be perfect as it flows through the letter down into the bottom. And this is the way you do it. Then you can select all of these, and we'll go to Pathfinder here, and we'll go Unite. Now we have our letter B. So that's how you can think as you're building letter forms like this. Just think in shapes. It makes it a whole lot easier. And I'd kind of do the same thing on the D. I'd build this downward one and then just 1 stroke instead of 2 like on the B to create that. Other letter forms are super easy. If we go down here to the circle, guess what we're going to use? That's right. We're going to use the elliptical tool. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. We can go like this. We can rotate it kind of like that. We can distort it because we don't want it perfect like that. Maybe we rotate it even a little more, distort it this way. And it doesn't even need to be a perfect circle. Maybe we want it distorted like that. So it depends on the aesthetic you're going for. So maybe we start there. Maybe we grab the ellipse tool. We're now going to do the outer edge. That's more of a squatty type of ellipse. And again, doesn't need to be perfect because this is hand lettering. Kind of the charm of hand lettering is that it isn't perfect. There is some imperfections in terms of form and shape. And I would just, here we might grab this anchor. I usually pull it away and then pull it back like that. And I might adjust that or tweak that kind of like that. So we have the inner part of the O. I'd make sure that's on top. Select these, minus front, and now we have the O for joy. So that's how I go ahead and build out letter forms like that, just thinking in shapes. Ultimately, all my letter forms with all the artwork on the inside, and this is going to be working really great moving forward. Now, when it comes to kind of sizing all these strokes, I'm going to turn on this. We'll go ahead and turn off these bottom layers. Let's zoom in on this. So we have our bird shape here, but I've colored all these separate just to show you that they're independent strokes from one another. I don't have a lot of detail in this, but it's easier to manage this way because we can select everything here. Command A to select it if you want. Go to stroke, and the tolerance on this is just figuring out the size and thickness of these strokes. I think 2.5 is going to work. Turn those on. I think that looks great. This is where you might want to go in after you expand it. Expand it meaning going to object, and we'll go to path, and we'll go to outline stroke. So all of these are shapes now. And this is where you might get redundant anchor points. Now, I cover that in their movie, so I'm not going to go through all that again, but you might need to go in and clean that up before you unite all these together. But I'm going to go ahead and unite these anyway, and you're going to see we have the redundant points showing up. So right now we have 258. We can click this to remove them. So there is 4 redundant anchor points. So that's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. But I'm going to show you one thing that you will run into is notice this ever so slight bump right here, because this path, even though it snapped to the other stroke, it caused a bump here. So if I select this, you can see those. Well, here's another nice feature in Astute is I can go ahead and select all these, or actually the way I would fix this is I think, yeah, let's just try smart removing them. Boom. It causes a little issue there. So what I would do is I go in and find kind of the apex here, and I'd add a point there. So that's a smooth. Then I would smart remove this. Boom. There we go. So that's why I use plugins, because I can fix things like this. I don't know if it's on this side. Yeah, we kind of have the same thing on this side. So again, this is such a short, shallow curve that I think we can just smart remove this, and we can. That looks good. So it's those kind of cleanups, and I'm not going to go through all those, but I just wanted to show you that really quickly because that's how I would clean it up. And it only is that easy if you have a plugin like Astute Graphics. So it saves me so much time. I'm sorry I keep harping on Astute Graphics, but it really is a game changer. Now, I want to establish a color palette because all these interior shapes, I'll be coloring. I'll get rid of the outline. So it'll just be everything shown as white on the inside of this bird will be the shapes. Now, there's a lot of new coloring methods in Illustrator, but one of the best coloring methods still, in my opinion, is just to take a nice photograph. And here's one I brought in. It's a Caribbean shot, blue sky, nice cream colored beach, aqua water. And there's just a lot of colors here. Now, if I go over to the left side, you can see I have all these squares here, and we're going to create our own swatches. And these will all be raw colors. We're just going to derive them using the eyedropper. So I'll go ahead and select eye for the eyedropper. I'll go over here. We're going to sample the sky and apply a blue. We'll select this one. We want this one to be kind of an aqua color. So we'll go down here in the water and we'll select an aqua type color like that. Go down here on the third color. The third color we want to be blue. Maybe we go up here in the clouds and we'll select that blue like that. We'll go down here. We want the next color to be kind of the sea foam color that's down here, the lighter shade of the water, and we'll sample that like that. Maybe a little lighter. Yeah, like that. That looks kind of good. And then we need a darker color. So let's go to the darker shadow on this sand. We'll sample that. Might even get a little darker like that. Then we'll go down closer to the water and we'll sample part of this sand, which is kind of a creamy color like that. Now, all of these are raw colors. So if I select this blue and we go up here, notice this is actually the sampling from that photograph. Now, we're in CMYK mode. If we were in RGB, it'd be whatever the RGB value is from the photograph. But this is close enough to dial it in. I think this is okay, but I don't like fractional numbers. So this is where I'll actually go in. And on this one, I think I'm going to make this 100% cyan. And we'll go in on the magenta. I think that's a bit too much. So we'll go 40. And then on the black, I want it to be darker. So we'll add 35% black like that. So that's how I'd change it. I go to swatches. And then what we're going to do is drag it down into our swatches. I'll double click it, turn it to a global color. Oops, let's go here. We'll call it dark blue for lack of a better name. And we'll go OK. And I forgot to click global. Let's click global. And we're going to name this our, we'll call it joy colors like that. And we'll go selected swatch, click OK. So we're creating a swatch here. We'll select this one, which is the kind of an aqua color. I want this one to have more blues, so we'll go 65. I don't want any magenta in this. We'll lower the amount of yellow to 20 because we want that aqua to be vibrant We'll go back swatches. We'll drag this down into our color group. And we'll call this Aqua. Click Global and click OK. We'll go to the next one. This will be kind of our medium blue color. So we'll do 50. And I think we're just going to go 0 on all the others like that. We'll drag this down. And we'll just call this light blue. Like that. We'll go to the next one. This is our kind of our seafoam color. So it does have some blue in it. So we'll add some blue. And on the magenta 0, it does have yellow. So we'll add some yellow into it and none of the black. We want it to be nice and clean. And we'll bring it down here. And we'll call this one Seafoam. Oops. Get rid of the space. Turn to global. Click OK. This one, we don't want it to be a brownie type color. So we have too much blue in it. So we're going to knock that back to 15. It does need some red, but not this much. So we'll go 25. It needs to have more yellow since it's sand. So we'll add that. And we want some darkness, but not too much. So we'll add 5% black. I think that'll work good. And we'll add that to our color palette. And we'll go dark sand. Click global. Click OK. Click the cream color. See what that is. We'll try adding a little more blue. A bit more red, or magenta that is. 44 yellow to bump it up. And 0 black. And then we'll add this in. And we'll get creative and call it light sand. And click global. And click OK. So now that we have our colors established, we can go ahead and colorize our artwork. So if I turn this on, we can select areas of our design. Maybe it's this. And whenever I'm coloring, I'm trying to balance out shapes. So I don't want it like right next to each other. I don't want them, the color competing with one another, if you will. So I'd select this. Maybe these are all the dark blue. Then I'd select all the ones I want to make aqua. Maybe part of his wing, tip of his wing, inner part of his body. This, make those aqua. Maybe that one too. And then blue. We already kind of have a blue. So maybe these two. Tip of his tail, side. This area. I think that'll work. We'll make those the vibrant blue. Then we want to make the seafoam color, so we'll take this tip of his tail, central part of his body, over here on his wing, maybe the side of this. Make all those. And then we'll use the darker sand color, kind of only the earth tone in this design. We'll select these areas like that. Maybe add it in his tail. And then everything else that's left, that's that original color, we'll color it that. And I think that's it. I think that looks cool. This is going to be a fun design. Let's turn on the type, because the type, I think the type, I'm just going to go with the darkest color like that. There we go. So that would be the final design lockup with the color in place. Now, of course, Illustrator has other coloring features, the recolor tool, which They updated almost 2 years ago. And then the generative recolor, where they say they applied artificial intelligence to it. I don't find it that impressive. I still prefer doing color exploration manually, but we'll go ahead and try that. We'll go ahead and bring these up. Here's all of our final colors, and we'll just collapse this so we have room to select. And by the way, you have to have your art selected, otherwise this recolor icon won't show up. It's not there by default. I wish you could just keep it there, but oh well. Just click it, it'll open it up. Whether you do generative recolor, which is still in beta, or you do just the standard recolor. Standard recolor, you can just move this however you want, and you can see it's affecting it like that. So it just depends on what you want to do. That's kind of interesting. And as soon as you click off, you kind of commit those to those colors. But keep in mind, if you select any of these, you go to color, it's going to be a fractional number, much like sampling off the photograph was. So it's not dialed in. So you're still going to have to kind of dial these in. They're raw colors. So if you're doing something on a printing press, you'd need to match this to a Pantone or some universal system, color system, to guarantee it's going to be the exact hue you need it to be. But we're just exploring right now. So we'll go back. And that's another thing. I wish this panel would just stay open because it always puts it in the center and you have to move it around. So that's how you could do it with the old recolor. You could also, one of the cool features of old recolor is you can go to all their prefabricated color modes, and there's one that works pretty good called earth tones. So if I select that, well, that one I don't like. I don't like all the gray, but let's go ahead and move this around, see what that looks like. That's not bad. Maybe we get some reds in there. Now you can unlock this, and then you can focus. We have 2 tans. So maybe we move this one down to become a blue. Well, that looks more gray. Maybe do green. That's not bad. Or go over here like that. If you want to control saturation, etc., you can go here, blow it out a little more, or go here. It'll get darker, or you get lighter as you go the other way. So a lot of things you can do to experiment. If you lock it and grab the tendrils, you can just rotate it around. That one I'm not, it's okay. It's a little too, we'll stick with that one. So earth tones, that's okay. So that's how the old recolor tool works. So let's try the generative and see how well it does. Again, you have prefabricated things. You can type in prompts, and I guess we'll do a prompt. We'll do tropical colors. We'll see what it does. And we'll go generate. And this is what you get. Let's try this one. That's not bad. That's not bad. Just a lot of the greens and blues are the same. That one, I would tweak all of these, but that one's kind of cool. More I'm looking at this, I kind of like it. I would just definitely go in and change some of those hues. So we'll go with that. Let's try another one. Go to generative recolor. We'll try one of these. We'll go faded emerald. See what that looks like. Not sure I like any of those. Nope, don't like that. Let's reset it, and we'll go lavender storm. Oh, that might be okay. Yeah, I'll go with that. Let's do this one. Again, kind of a pain. Let's do, Should probably have thought out all the prompts I could try. Let's do Pacific Northwest colors. I live in the Pacific Northwest. Let's see how smart it is. If it's artificial intelligence, it should be smart enough to know that. I'm not sure why they think this is Pacific Northwest colors, but I like the color palette. So I'm going to go with that. That looks cool. Now, I wish there was a way that, like on the palette, you could say, keep open and let me select something else to try some of these on. But as far as I know, you can't do that. Maybe you can. If you can, could somebody tell me? Because I don't know how. Because as soon as I select this, of course, it disappears. You have to open it. You lose that prompt. Let's try something crazy. Let's go Irish colors. This has to be green. Otherwise, this artificial intelligence isn't that smart. Okay, there you go. This is what I would expect by typing in Irish. There you go. That looks pretty good, laddie. I don't even know if that's more Scottish, isn't it? Okay, enough with my impersonations. I'm not going to do that again. Let's do this. Let's try a different one. What should I try? I don't know. I don't know what it'll do. We'll go this could be anything. Sci-fi colors. No, let's go joyful colors. There we go. Now we'll see what it considers joyful colors. Pink, maybe? Ooh. That one is not bad at all. See, that one, that's good. I actually like this one too. Okay, so it's interesting. I wonder if he'll give me the exact same breakdown. We're gonna do that exact same prompt again. I don't think I've ever tried the same prompt twice. Joyful colors. So it's using the exact same artwork, same prompt. Let's see if it comes up with the exact same breakdown. No, it's pretty random because this is what we used last time and it didn't use that. So that's interesting. We can try that one here. That's not bad. I'll go with that. And we'll save the last one. Let's try something really crazy. Best colors in the world. Well, there you go, folks. This is what artificial intelligence considers the best colors in the world. We have this, which isn't that bad. It's more earth tony. We have this one, which is pretty close to this one. This isn't bad. I don't like that. I think I'll go with this one. So you can do generative recolor or use the recolor tool to get a lot of variations. There's a couple in here that I think are worth exploring, specifically this one in the bottom left. I really quite like that one. I would dial it in again because, as I stated previously, if I select like the word joy, you can see it's a fractional number. So you're going to have to dial it in and perfect those colors. But I like the colors I came up with still, I think, a little better because it's derived from a photo that kind of inspired me. But these make great t-shirt, work great on a t-shirt, but also works in a very simple type of usage. So if you turn to one color, it can work on a colorized or photographic background. And we had gotten rid of the outline of the bird shape, but if you just focus on that bird shape and turn it into a wireframe, this would work equally as cool as well. I could see this cut out of aluminum or something and backlit to be a really cool kind of signage larger on a wall as well. So, in a world that seems to be progressively getting more crazy and pretty dark at times, that's why I was motivated to put this together. I've been feeling that a lot lately. So When the world seems to be ruled by fools, it's always good to do something positive, creatively speaking. So hopefully you enjoyed this process. This is a little different than what I normally do, but I've included a PDF print of the final design and the exercise files for this movie. So if you want to, you could print it out and hang it up in your work area. If you have an idea for a future People of Process movie, use the email in the description below and share it with me. If I use it, I'll send you some free creative swag just to say thanks for being part of the content creation on this channel. And I really mean that. I'll send you some stickers and some cool art prints that I've done over the years. So take the time to think up something really cool, send it to me. And if I like it and use it, I'm going to send you some nice swag that you can enjoy. So remember, the exercise files for each of the People of Process movies can always be accessed via a link in the description below. Purchasing access to the source files or becoming a channel member or visiting ppluv.com. That's where I list out all the ways you can support this channel. And it could be buying a sticker, buying a t-shirt, or purchasing my book. All those things will help me to continue to create content. And for those who do support, I really thank you for that. It really helps me to focus on what I do best, which is creative. So it's also led me to be able to buy a really cool streaming camera. So we're going to be doing that soon as well. So until next time, thank you for watching People of Process. And as always, I hope this content helps you to improve your own creative process.